Thank you.
So welcome back. We've had you on a few times now because we understand the quilt that we all are part of. And, you know, as we talk about economic impact of the pandemic and, you know, everything from the future of education, we're all interconnected. And we've had you on recently with other leaders of museums and cultural arts venues, the importance of all of us, right? But this is a little bit different. We have you here because we are celebrating. You are the president and CEO, right, of the Historical Society.
CEO and executive director of the Preservation Society of Newport County.
Correct. And the Newport Mansions. So newportmansions.org. There's a lot still going on. Bill was telling me when we were on the grounds of the Marble House while Cooper was shooting video that you're very busy right now with picnics, the picnic lunch ticket. So
Yes, we are. We've never allowed picnicking on any of our grounds, but because people, as we've learned from COVID, are so eager to be outside rather than in, we now have a brand new ticket which gives the buyer the opportunity to visit 3 gardens, the gardens at the Green Animals, which is one of the most extraordinary topiary gardens anywhere in North America, and I mean that, the Elms and the Breakers. All 3 have different stories to tell, and I hope that people will consider visiting our grounds and gardens and also bring a picnic along. There is nothing more fun than sitting at Green Animals at sunset, letting your kids run through the topiaries of giraffes and bears and sailing ships and watching the sunset over Narragansett Bay. It's really worth doing.
My daughter and my dog and I drove down there the other night and went for a little walk along the water.
Good.
And it was packed. The parking lot was packed, and it was right before sunset. So congratulations on that. And I haven't done the tour at the Breakers of upstairs, right? You still have that going?
We have the regular tour of the house. We also have a Beneath the Breakers tour, which is
Beneath the Breakers, okay.
Which is actually on hold right now for COVID reasons. I hope that we can bring it back soon. And just walking the 13 acres of grounds at the Breakers, we've just created a brand new historic path that was designed for Mr. Vanderbilt by Ernest Bowditch, a very well-known landscape architect at the turn of the century. We're halfway through that project, but the first half is beautifully done and worth enjoying. And then, of course, it's $1 million view from the terrace of from the terrace of the Breakers. So you can't lose. There's no way you can lose.
Absolutely. So we're here because we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, and you have something going on next week that we need to know about.
We do. We at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, the 26th of August, which is a very important date, we will be celebrating virtually the passage of the 19th Amendment. And we are very lucky because the woman who built Marble House, the house that you just saw in the video, was Alva Vanderbilt, married to William Vanderbilt. And she really was a strong, powerful woman and a conniving woman. She was smart enough to position herself to marry the richest man in the world. She came from a upper middle class family in Alabama. They were a family of prominent lawyers and political leaders. the family had to leave the South during the Civil War to escape the ravages of war. And at that point, the family was on shaky ground, and her mother sort of prompted the daughters to start looking. And Alva did a good job in finding William Vanderbilt, married him, and then went on to become a formidable presence. She received as a 39th birthday present from her husband the opportunity to build a house, a summer cottage in Newport. And she hired Richard Morris Hunt, the preeminent architect of the world then, and together they designed and built Marble House. Richard Morris Hunt built the breakers. He's really a spectacular architect. He writes in his diaries that he was never really in charge. She was always the decision maker because she knew French art and architecture well, and she was going to put her stamp onto that house, and she certainly did. I'm telling you all of this because we think of Alva Vanderbilt as being a socialite, as a woman who very much wanted the Vanderbilt name to be part of the A-list. They were not then. That's what she was aiming for. She was trying to make a statement, and that's all she was. But actually, once she got the house built and once she got her daughter, Consuelo, married off to the Duke of Marlborough, the family that owns Blenheim Palace in England, she went on to become a phenomenal. She got a divorce from William Vanderbilt, and she went on to become, she truly pivoted in her life. She became an activist, she became an advocate, she became a strong voice for women getting the right to vote, and hosted a number of activities, rallies on the back lawn of Marble House, brought in speakers from around the world to try to educate others about the value of women having the right to vote, aligned herself with a number of different women's groups throughout the latter part of her career, and she succeeded, along with many others, in getting the Congress to pass the 19th Amendment, and today we are beneficiaries of her hard work. So we're going to be celebrating that next Wednesday, and the thing that I'm most excited about is that the great-great-granddaughter of Alva is going to be the keynote speaker. Her name is Lady Henrietta Spencer Churchill. It's her family that owns Blenheim, the house that Consuelo, the daughter of Alva, lived in after she married the Duke of Marlborough. And so Lady Henrietta Spencer Churchill will be talking about women's rights from the memories that she has of her family, from her mother and from her grandmother and others, and also from the perspective of women's rights in England. And I think it's going to be a fascinating hour. We're doing it with the League of Women Voters, who are great allies and who have been tremendous activists for women for a long, long period of time. And so I hope if you want to, you will join this event. It's by Zoom. We have the state poet who has created a poem for this event, and there are other speakers, and I think it's going to be a nice way to really remember that we have a woman right here in Newport, Rhode Island, who helped start the ball rolling.
Many, 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 right? When Amy has been sharing all kinds of URLs here that you should, as well as the one to sign up for that event. You see the picture behind me?
Yes, we love that picture.
Alva being a troublemaker and having a rally right on the back, you know, and that reminded me when we were there that we didn't get to have our Greater Newport Chamber of Commerce Women's Luncheon this year.
I know.
You know, and that every year I looked forward to that, and you can feel the energy of those women that are behind me every year when we were there. So that, you know, it's okay. We'll be back.
So if you attended one of Alva's rallies, you got to take home with you a cup that says "Votes for Women." And we still sell plates and cups and saucers in our museum stores. And I have to tell you that it's probably one of our most popular items. But that was the takeaway for those who attended the Votes for Women's plates.
Oh, I'm gonna head down there. There's one right down
Right.
right down the street. I'm up on the hill right now and feeling every bit of the history and their energy.
We have sent plates and other China, Votes for Women China, to important women politicians as a way of prodding them to win. We'll have to
Awesome.
send one to Kamala. She
Definitely.
deserves, maybe
Mamala.
she'll
Mamala. I love it.
I'm not being political, by the way. I'm just, I'm an advocate for women, okay?
There you go.
Trudy,
Yes,
tell the rest of the story. She divorced William Vanderbilt in
I was
18,
gonna say that.
married Oliver Hazard Belmont from Belcourt Castle.
Yes, thank you, Jim, for filling in with the story. You know, I think the most interesting part of her marriage to William, which was a marriage of convenience. It was a marriage to really bail the family out. I don't think they were even terribly great friends. She then went on to marry Belmont and to live in Belcourt Castle, which is now owned by
Carolyn.
Carolyn Raphalian, who has done a phenomenal job in restoring that building. I think she's got it on the market. That divorce, though, as Jim knows, was one of the most celebrated divorces. It took place in the 1890s, and it was unheard of for society women of the prominence of Alva Vanderbilt to go through what she went through. And yet she was tough as nails, and she decided that that's what she had to do for her own mental health, and proceeded forward. And then to add more to the story, Alva, who was not a feminist in any way at the beginning of her career, her life, she marries this man for money. She forces her daughter, Consuelo, literally forces her to marry the Duke of Marlborough. And the exchange was that the Vanderbilt family would provide the funds necessary to restore Blenheim Castle, and thank goodness that was done, because it is a beautiful property. And in turn, the Vanderbilts would become part of nobility. She got a title, the Duchess of Marlborough. This is Consuelo, the daughter of Alva. Now, Consuelo had her eye on another man, Winthrop Rutherford. She very much wanted to marry him. The mother said no, Alva said no. She persisted, Consuelo, in asking that she be allowed to marry Winthrop Rutherford. The mother continued to say no, and then an emissary for Alva came to the daughter, Consuelo, and said, "Your mother just had a heart attack, and she's probably going to die if you continue to be a stubborn daughter, so you will marry the Duke." And I think that's what turned Consuelo soft, and she ended up saying, okay, I'm going to marry him.
Thank you so much for being on again, and thank you for letting us on the grounds to shoot that video.
Thank you very much to me.
We'll continue.